Recording progress. Cool. Okay, someone has commented. Yes, we can. Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay, so thank you all very much for joining the session. My name is Abise. If you are new, I'm just trying to respond to messages as well simultaneously. If you're new here, this is the awesome.net group that we run. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, and this is just our first event for the year, virtual event. If you are new here, you're welcome. We usually run events as often as we can based on feedback from the community. We're a combination or a conglomerate of various communities that came together to form this bigger community as well. If you're not aware, we have a WhatsApp group. We have a WhatsApp community with over 900 um, members and folks within the software engineering space. And we try as much as possible to help one another in terms of engineering problems or things of that nature, answering questions, helping people solve issues regarding engineering stuff, and typically free. So if you're not part of the group or thereabouts, please you can freely leave a comment or so in the comment section, and we would probably drop the details or thereabout on the of how to join the group over there. So without further ado, today's session is basically to try helping to position for preferred job opportunities, just as we have on the slide. And we have one and only experienced Madam Lolade Odunsi, who, for lack of a better word, without mixing words, is a veteran in the human resource space, talent management space, and she has a lot of experience hiring developers, not just developers, across multiple functions. And she would do justice to um, help guide our minds and arts in order for us to be positioned for job opportunities, be it locally or globally. So feel free to take down notes. We've created a number of questions for everyone who responded to the question during the registration period. That is why you were registering for this event. We asked just one question, which asked around what you would like her to like kind of like talk on or speak into, and that has been added as part of our presentation. I'm sure after she covers that, if time permits, we would be able to also cover questions from the live audience. So feel free to ask questions at that point in time. But without further ado, I would hand over the mic and screen to Lolade. I would disappear from the screen, and if anyone has questions or thereabouts, just drop it in the comments. I'll be able to call our attention to it. Over to you, man, Lolade. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Adisei. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. So my name is Ololade, and currently I'm the portfolio talent lead at Founders Factory Africa, which is a venture capital firm. Brief summary to my background. So can everyone hear me? Sorry, I can't see the participants, so I'm not quite sure if folks can.
Yeah, we have a couple of people on
Okay,
the call as well. So yeah.
okay, all right, cool. So I have about 13 years of experience working in HR, ranging from very established traditional businesses like Leventis, Atlas Copco, which is a manufacturing, international manufacturing firm, Swiss Pharma, which is a pharmaceutical company based in Nigeria, to tech businesses such as Smile Communications, where I led HR for Nigeria, Uganda, and Tanzania, um, at Trade Depot, where I was the pioneer HR lead, head of HR, for the 3 years, no, for 4 years actually. Saw them through Series A, Series B, where they raised over 100 million naira, $100 million rather. And currently, I'm the portfolio lead at Founders Factory Africa, where I provide HR advisory and recruitment support to over 70 businesses in our portfolio across Africa. So that's just a quick summary of what I've been doing over the past couple of years. Today's session is really about positioning for preferred job opportunities, right? I mean, it's the title is self-explanatory at this point. Now, for the basis of this conversation, this slide is going to be about 10 minutes max, and then we can move on to the questions that Bisoye shared with me that a number of people in this community had asked. However, I will be focusing on tech talent in its entirety because, first and foremost, I'm HR and I don't have the technical expertise to answer technical related questions. So just need to put that caveat there. Okay, so first of all, we know that the job market is evolving, right? Over the past couple of years, over the past 3-4 years since COVID happened, changing times, changing macroeconomic situations, we have suddenly the rise of remote and work from home situations, which were never the norm in this part of the world, particularly, and even outside of Africa. We have new tech fields, blockchain, AI, ML, that have emerged over the past couple of years. We have gig economies. So these are just trends that have emerged over the past couple of years. We have gig economies now. People are moving away from having, traditional jobs and having side gigs, which are also recognized as jobs. Before, if you have your full-time job, you kind of hide your side gig under the table and you don't showcase it. But nowadays, we showcase our full-time job to showcase our side jobs and freelance work as equal work opportunities that we've engaged in. Over the past few years as well, trends in the funding space, we've had tighter and more restricted funding for startups. And now we have more younger and older tech talents. So before, it was technology was emerging, especially in this part of the world. Technology is emerging, so people are just getting into the thick of things. But now this has been around for a couple of years. So we now have very senior tech talent who are looking for better opportunities. And we have more younger people who see technology as an avenue to escape the current situation in the country and to make better lives for themselves. So you have more talent available in the field. And when you have more talent, what happens? Demand drops because supply has increased. And that's just simple economics. So how do you position yourself for better job opportunities in today's markets, right? And we're going to focus on 4 things. First and foremost, you need to sell yourself. And then job market readiness, develop critical soft skills, and finally, growth conversations. So we'll take them one by one. Now, in the course of this very short presentation, if you have any further questions, please feel free to note it down. And after the session, we'll take the questions. So sell yourself. If you don't blow your own trumpets, nobody else will. Nobody else will be responsible to announce your good deeds, not even your manager. In fact, your manager will probably most likely take credit for the work that you have done and announce themselves and sell themselves for the work that you have done. Now, selling yourself doesn't mean rattling off technical skills alone. And I'm speaking from a place where I've interviewed when I'm interviewing tech talent, right? Before my current job at Trade Depot, I had over 1,000 employees that I was managing across Africa. And even in my current job, I'm working with 70 plus startups, which is going to go up to 100 by the end of this year. And so you get to meet a lot of tech candidates and interview them, and you can see some trends emerging. So during interviews, right, I always advise, first and foremost, don't be boring. I usually find tech candidates just focusing on the technical skills and expertise, which really, from a HR standpoint, means almost nothing. It sounds fantastic. It sounds great. But again, the first line of interviews that you get are from non-technical people. And they may not even understand what you're talking about. They will try to look interested, but it goes right over their heads. So don't be boring, be confident, don't be obnoxious. So there are two spectrums. We have some tech candidates who are very shy. They don't really interview well. You ask them questions and they give you one-line answers. They're not very communicative, probably because they are not used to being in that situation. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have talent who are overconfident, who are obnoxious, who are borderline bragging on their skills. And nobody really wants to work with somebody who has those sort of traits, right? So it's to find a balance somewhere in the middle where you are selling yourself fantastically, but at the same time, it's not obnoxious and doesn't have a negative payoff. So finding that balance in between, which varies from company to company. So it's necessary for you to, again, we'll talk about later, develop some soft skills that will help you to be aware of when you are crossing the line, right? And then offer solutions. So like I said, don't rattle off your technical skills alone. Focus on what the problem was and what you solved for that business to make it more relatable to the interviewers who are speaking with you. So instead of just rattling off, oh, I have XYZ skills, you should say, oh, currently this company I worked with, they had a challenge with XYZ problem, with XYZ products, and I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things that solved this problem. I was able to push out this product and it was successful, etc., etc. What it shows to the interviewer is that you have a holistic view of what the company is about and not just focus on the microcosm of your job, which doesn't really make you stand out from the rest. Okay. Secondly, job market readiness. Now, this is 6 things, right? First and foremost, upskilling yourself, exploring new and evolving technologies. AI, ML, it's coming up. We don't expect you to be an expert because these are still evolving, right? But at least have some knowledge about it so that you can talk confidently about it. Then craft an outstanding resume. Sometimes you see resumes that aren't great. It's 3, 4 lines, it's all over the place. It doesn't really clearly state your wins. So like I said before, you offer solutions. You should clearly state what you did in each company that you worked with or in each project that you worked with. What were your wins, what were your achievements, so that it's relatable to the person who is screening your CV, so they can identify and see if this person can fit into this organization because they solve this problem that we currently have. Then build a strong online presence. LinkedIn is great. Most people who are recruiting, especially with new businesses, right? So they have a HR person who has the mandate to recruit 3, 4, 5 developers. First and foremost, they'll go to LinkedIn. So I always encourage my tech candidates, please have an online profile that is in non-tech spaces. So LinkedIn, TopTal, Fiverr, with a HR person who has almost zero to none technical expertise can easily go to find you and will understand what you are doing, right? So crafting your LinkedIn profile. If I ask a number of you about your LinkedIn profiles, it's almost non-existent or it's been dead in the water for a couple of years. Please go back to revive it, update it, be active, connect with recruiters online, connect with communities online in LinkedIn, because LinkedIn really is the new marketplace for talent. And then network effectively. Aside from having a strong online presence, having a strong offline presence is also great because this is the real world that we live in and not online. So attending networking events, career fairs, conferences, alumni groups, forums, mixers, other events offline where you can actually meet the people face to face, because really, you'll be surprised the number of jobs that I've closed out and hires that I've closed out just by meeting the people one-on-one and really getting to know them. Or at least even if you meet with them, even if they don't close you out, then you remain top of mind because they remember, oh yes, I met an engineer at this event. Let me reach out to him. Even if I don't hire him, he may refer someone to me. Then think outside of tech spaces, right? Let's not be focused on tech spaces, because right now the market is getting smaller. Because like I said, we have more older and more younger talent. Younger means cheaper as well, coming into the market. So let's think outside of tech spaces. This means think globally, looking outside for work. And looking outside for work means what? If you want to find a job outside Nigeria, what would you do? You would go to the country where you identify the country that you want to work with, and you go to the country's most prominent job boards, and you search for jobs there, and you apply. Well, aside from looking globally, we also have a situation currently where more traditional businesses right now in Africa are looking to adopt technology. So you have like a manufacturing business, say for instance, AG Leventis, that everyone knows their grandfather worked in. Right now, they're trying to build an app. They're trying to go online. Yes, it's a little too late, but they're still trying to do it. And they have the money, the backing, the reputation to push through and actually succeed if they put their minds to it. So this would mean, so they will be looking for developers, they'll be looking for tech talent to support them with their digitization of their business. So not just tech spaces that you look for jobs in, but also more traditional spaces. And then finally, develop marketable skills. And these are soft skills, which we'll address in the next slide. So critical skills, interviewing skills. You should know how to engage honestly and realistically. Sometimes you find when I'm interviewing, I ask them, so where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? That's not just a random question. I want to know if you actually have long-term plans, if you have a clear idea of where you're going to, if your future actually fits into where the company's future is headed to. And then you find someone telling you, oh, I want to work in a company that has objectives and the goals that I want to, and just writing a bunch of buzzwords that mean nothing. I would always prefer having candidates who are honest and whose interviews are realistic, who answer me with real life experiences, as opposed to just following a format that they saw online. Having great communication skills, both verbal and written, and this means active listening. So when you ask something, you should listen to understand, not listen to respond. Teamwork. We don't work in an island. So things that companies are looking out for, developers and tech talent who are able to work comfortably with other cross-functional teams, whether technological teams or non-tech teams. And then being able to adapt to situations, because in these changing times, things are hard, things are going haywire. The country, the economies, the world in itself is in constant state of flux. So having people who are able to adapt from one situation to another, as opposed to say, no, I started on this project and I must finish it, and then cutting out everyone who tries to pull them from one project to another. You need to be adaptable. You need to be flexible. And then time management, prioritization. What may be important to you may not be important to the company. And they need to be sure that you are ready to get on board with what the company is trying to do, because at the end of the day, it's the company that's paying your salary. True or false? True. Okay. And then finally, be ready to have growth conversations. And this is where a lot of people shy away from, not just tech talents, but also non-tech people. They tend to shy away from having growth conversations with the managers and with the HR reps. Your professional development is your own responsibility. It's not your HR's responsibility. It's not your manager's responsibility. In fact, the truth be told, your manager really doesn't care about your growth. If you turn out to be stagnant to a point where the company feels like you're not quite meeting the objectives for the next level, they'll simply hire somebody else to be on top of you and possibly exit you at the end of the day. So you need to be ready to hold those serious conversations with your managers and say, okay, for example, case in point, having the conversation with your manager and saying, look, I've been here for 6 months, for a year. What does growth mean to me in this role? Your manager needs to give you a serious answer. Some managers may try to shy away from it. You need to hold them accountable for your growth. You need to hold them accountable to say, where will I be in the next 1 to 2 years? I want to be here. How will the company help me to get to this position? So what will typically happen is your manager would then work with you, maybe give you additional projects to expand your scope. And of course, this also comes with pay negotiation. So don't be afraid of having very strong conversations around your pay, around your increase in salary, especially as this comes with additional responsibilities or with promotions. You need to be able to hold those conversations. And this is really tied to performance. So having clear objectives. I would always encourage you to have the conversations whereby you are setting out clear milestones and saying, if I achieve 1, 2, 3 things, this would mean, manager, that I will get to this position, I will be promoted to this position, I'll have this responsibility permanently assigned to me, and this should also come with XYZ pay increase. Are we aligned? Yes, great. And then you start working towards those goals. So those are the growth conversations that I always encourage people to have, especially at the start of the year, so that at the end of the year, you're not just left and say, but I did 1, 2, 3 things over the past 12 months. And they're like, well, yeah, thank you so much, pat on the back, golden handshake, but we never agreed for any promotion or any sort of growth happening to you. You just did it out of the goodness of your heart, and that's not the position that you want to be in. Okay, I guess that's it. For questions, I do know that a couple of questions were shared by the group, so I will just take them one after the other. And then if you have any further questions, we'll take it after that session. Okay, let me share the screen. Oh, there it is. So it's been a while I use Zoom, so it's not the best for me. Okay, first question was, so once again, I would only be answering questions that are non-tech specific, right? Because like I said, I don't have the technical expertise to answer technical questions. So talk about other helpful tools or language development. I can't answer that question. Samples of a standard resume for foreign jobs. So standard resumes for foreign jobs, there is really nothing like a standard resume, really. But a good resume should clearly state your qualifications, both educational and professional qualifications, should clearly state where you've worked, your work history, and the dates and the places, the locations, should also clearly state what achievements that you got in each of those places. With that in mind, any interviewer will be happy to look at your CV if it states these 3 things. From the HR point of view, it would be appreciated to know on common platforms HR use to source talent aside from LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn is the first and foremost these days. Any other platforms would be communities like this one, if they're part of similar communities, so they will just post the job ads there. So you being a part of this community is a good step forward. Upskilling in the AI era, I can't answer that question. How to secure a job outside Nigeria. So let's flip it backwards instead. If you were in Kenya and you wanted a job in Nigeria, what would you do? Like I said, you would figure out maybe communities in Nigeria, Nigerian tech communities, and you would join them. You would also figure out what are the top job boards in Nigeria. We have My Job Mag, we have Joboman, right? You would identify those ones and you go there and search for jobs. You would also go to LinkedIn and you would tweak your search criteria to jobs within the Nigerian space. So since you're going to do all that because you're trying to get a job in Nigeria, so just apply that to get jobs outside of Nigeria. How to get international gigs? I just answered that question. Optimization of LinkedIn. Yes. Please put up your photo. We want to see what you look like. Please update your job and your work experiences. Please update on all the projects that you've worked on, both within your job and outside your job. Please update whatever certifications and trainings and learnings that you've gotten. And please put the notification to open to work and get updates, daily updates about vacant jobs. So that's how you optimize LinkedIn. And also connect with recruiters, connect with talents, connect with VCs that always hire, because VCs always hire for their portfolio businesses, and they're usually the first ones to know about the jobs. And it's a great way to aggregate, instead of going to particular individual companies, it's better to go to a company's website. For example, Founders Factory Africa, instead of going to the individual 70 companies, just go to the Founders Factory Africa website and you will see all the vacant jobs that are coming from all the 70 businesses. Causes of unnecessary layoffs. So there's a saying that I can't remember who said it, but says you can never understand another man's point of view unless you crawl into their skin and walk a mile in it. There's nothing like unnecessary layoffs. Layoffs happen if the company can't afford to take on additional those all the staff members, so they need to cut down. If the company realizes that they're probably overstaffed, if the company realizes or decides that you are not fit for the job, or if the company decides to pivot from a particular way of doing things or a particular business and decides to take on a new project or a new business, and you are not qualified to carry out the duties that are now expected. It's an unfortunate situation, but it does happen across the same way that you have the right to quit your job and say, you know what, I'm not working in this stupid company anymore. I quit. The company also has a right to say, look, I'm sorry, but we can't continue to work with you and let's separate amicably. Tailored boot camps for beginners in .NET. That's the next question. I can't answer that question. Matching talent to recruiters. I'm not sure what that means, but I guess you're asking how people can engage with recruiters. Well, connect with them on LinkedIn. Recruiters will always post a job because they're looking for. Positioning for international global roles. That's the next question. I've answered that question. How to get a first job. Now that is tough because you'll find entry-level jobs, but we need 5 years of work experience, right? And it sounds crazy. So I would recommend that you start off with internships. Look for internships. Look for work in projects, freelance. And when you are applying, you put all those experiences as work experience to show that you have done this thing for 1 to 3 months. You've worked here on this project for another 2 months. You worked here on this project for another 4 months. It shows that there has been some traction and that you're not just waiting idly until the miracle job comes. But in the meantime, you've been busy working on other projects and keeping yourself busy while acquiring relevant skills. The next question is, what are different job fields and opportunities available? Available in what? I'm not sure that question is complete, so I'll move on. Landing a remote job, I've answered that question. Other key parts, LinkedIn optimization, I've answered the question. How to get a remote job, answer the question. I guess everyone wants to get remote jobs outside of Nigeria, right? Best way to approach assessments. Okay, now that is a valid question. The best way to approach assessments is to be open, to be transparent, and to engage with your manager, the person who's assessing you, and ensure that both of you are on the same page. And then finally, and this is most important, even before the assessment, you and the assessor, that's the person who's assessing you, should have clearly defined objectives that will be measured at the end of the period. So that is not when you are suddenly assessing that you now realize, oh, wait, you should have done this. And then say, yeah, but you didn't tell me. And then we go back and forth. And it's not a case of you said, I said, we didn't say. Okay, so before the assessment period, always ensure that your objectives are clearly outlined. How to reschedule appointment? Well, I'm sure someone can help you with that. If you're using Google Calendars or any other calendar, you can just Google on how to do this. I'm sure there are online forums for this. Salary negotiation. Salary negotiation is tricky because nobody wants to be shortchanged. At the other end, the company is trying to get the best deal possible. So this now boils down to what do you want, and also to be realistic, right? So not that you're currently earning 200K and you want to move to a job that will pay you ₦1 million. Nobody's going to do that, and that is unrealistic. But if you're earning 200K, you should figure out, okay, you know what, from this 200K, the next job, what does the next job level pay? If I'm applying for another new job, what was that new job typically pay in this Nigerian space, right? So do your research, ask questions around, and then you figure out, okay, does this work for me? Can I go lower? Should I up my expectations instead. So if the new job is paying 400, do I want to come down to 300, 350, or do I even want to go above and ask for 500K? So you need to be clear on what you want. And then you need to approach those questions, the conversation honestly and transparently. Even if you're asking for more than the job market, you need to clearly state why you're asking for more in realistic terms. Justify why you're asking for this. Tell them that because I've done this, 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 and this, I've gone over and above this, and I'm even more qualified than the people who are currently executing this job. So I do believe that I deserve more. But also be open to negotiation. Never say no, right? So even if you do settle on something less, you should be able to have the conversation of saying, even if I'm going to take something lower than what I'm earning, than what I'm asking for, can we approach a salary review conversation 6 months or 1 year later when I've achieved 1, 2, 3, 4 things? And this is before you've even signed a contract, so that everyone is clear and saying, okay, you're coming in at this lower pay range, but we all know that 6 months to a year from now, we would have a salary review based on your performance. Okay. Next question. Important things a software developer needs to know. I don't know everything, I guess. Why is HR fractured? HR is fractured, really? Again, I'll say this. You'll never understand a person's point of view unless you crawl into their skin and walk a mile. It may look fractured to you. Some HR people would ask me, why do tech people think that they're mini gods? Why are they crazy? Why do they act like, the world revolves around them? But I always say, look, you need to understand each person's point of view. They are working and they're trying to deliver something. You also have your own objectives that you need to achieve. So it's always better to understand why the other person is acting that way so that you can be more empathic. How to build mindset required for positioning. We had a whole presentation around this. So I guess that answers your questions. Okay, I guess we're done. Thank you, Bisoye. I know you've been popping up on the screen a bit. So if there are any further questions, please, you can share so that I know we have a couple of minutes left, so we can take it.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Ololade. Thank you so much for that presentation. So please, the floor is open. If you have questions, go over to the Q&A session or thereabouts and drop your question. Wow, okay, so I'm seeing more questions pop up here. I'm just going to take them one by one and read out to Madam Ololade. How should employees stroke tech talents position or safeguard themselves against unplanned layoffs?
Okay. First thing to happen is assume the worst, but hope for the best, right? And network. You should start planning to have other jobs. You should start interviewing for other jobs. If you feel like, this company that I'm in, it looks shaky, start interviewing for other jobs, start applying for other jobs, start asking for referrals for other jobs, looking outside the country, looking within traditional businesses, looking for other similar companies that are interviewing, aggressively search. When you wake up in the morning and you have that focus and you're like, you know what, I need to get a job within the next 3 weeks. That's dedication, that's focus, that energy. Tinubu is not smiling with us in this country. So you need to, go after that other job so that you can comfortably live where you are and then enter another job and have peace of mind for at least 2 years. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question I'm seeing here is there a preferred resume format for tech professionals? I think you already
like
covered
I
that
said,
earlier.
there is no preferred format, but it's a recruiter always wants to see your educational and professional qualifications and trainings, because I know that not every training that you've got and not every skill that you've learned has a certificate attached to it. But they want to see the list of your skills, your trainings, your learnings, your educational qualifications. We want to see your work history, and not just your work history, but also your work achievements. So just rattling off technical skills means nothing to recruit. I mean, it's nice so that we know that you have the skills required, but we want to know what you did with those skills while in this company. So I worked in this company. You clearly state out all your job responsibilities. I did this, I was responsible for this, I was responsible for this. And while on this job, I helped to develop XYZ products for so and so situation, despite all odds. Like, clearly quantify your wins so that the recruiter can see, okay, this is a great person to work with because they did such awesome things. So that is the important
Oh,
part. Clearly quantify your wins.
thank you very much. The other question is, how do HR
How do HR
professionals,
professionals perceive job
yeah,
hopping? I
perceive
love job
job
hopping.
opening?
So, personally, I love job hopping because I job hopped. I've worked in a place for 6 months. I've worked in a place for 4 years. I've worked in a place for 1 month. Job hopping has its positives and negatives, and it depends on how you put a spin to it, right? If you're job hopping because you're looking for better jobs, you're looking for better quality of life, you're looking for better salaries, right? And you're also looking for best to gain better skills and experience, as opposed to just working in one particular place for 4 years or 5 years or 7 years. It's better to spread your wings and fly and move around and get a more expansive experience. So it now depends on how you put a spin to it. If you just say, oh, you know what, I was moving around from job to job because I was looking for money, um, that has a negative connotation to it. But if you put a positive spin to it, like saying, oh, yes, I moved around, and that's why I have such an extensive experience that I'm bringing to your company. Because if I had stayed in just one particular place, I wouldn't be so well versed in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 technologies. I wouldn't have XYZ skills. And that is why you are considering me for this role. And that's why I'm the best candidate for this. And I'll be able to deliver what you're looking for. So it depends on how you spin it. Always put a positive spin.
Okay, thank you very much. The other question is, does it mean that moving from a lower salary to a higher salary range is a bad thing? Let's say the talent has spent months acquiring the skills needed for such job, and if the
Mhm.
responsibilities demands a higher compensation.
Okay. Now, salary negotiations are important. Now, speaking from the company's point of view, right? They have a budget, right? So assuming that the budget is from 300 to 400K, and you're coming from 200 and you're asking for 500, or you're even asking for 400, they may look and say, you know what, 400 is the maximum. We don't want to pay the maximum, even though you have the skills, right? But we don't know how well you execute the skills. You have the confidence that you can, but the company may not have the confidence that you can. They need to be convinced because they can't read your mind. They are not telepathic, right? So you need to prove yourself in the first place. So they're also taking a chance on you because it may turn out good, it may turn out bad. They're taking a chance on you the same way you are taking a chance on the company. So it's best to always come to mutual agreement. So I would say be open to negotiation. Never just shut the door and say, no, these people are mad, they should get out. No, rather, if in this case you want 500 and the company's cap is 400 and they're offering you 350 and you're coming from 200, I would say have conversations around it. A possible um, um, way would be, look, I'm asking for 500, but you're offering me 350. I'm happy to take this if you are also open to having a conversation about moving me to 500 after a year or 6 months, whereby I have proven my talent and my skills, and have it documented in the contract that this is open to salary negotiation after 6 months of work or after 1 year of work. So have that conversation, and open the doors of negotiation. Never shut the doors so that you can always move up. Rome wasn't built in a day. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for you to eventually move up to the salary range that you're looking for.
Okay,
Um,
thank you very much. Exhibit, looking for the. Okay, why are recruiters looking for senior level talent experience and want to pay them junior level salary? I see a ton of posting like this these days, especially in Nigeria.
okay. First and foremost, many recruiters are constrained. So the company insists and says, look, this is what we can pay. We don't have money, but we need this skill. And you'll be surprised that you will always find a match for every salary level. I've had situations where developers took 200K, senior developers took $200 salary per month. And these are senior developers because of the situation they're in. So just because you're saying no doesn't mean someone else wouldn't say yes. And it depends on many factors. The company may be constrained financially and they really cannot afford to pay as much as is expected, as much as the market rates, but they need that talent. So they will find, and even if it takes them 3, 6, 7 months, they will find someone to fit in, right? Also, it's also good to be realistic, right? Yes, the world's a global village, but um, it, I find sometimes that tech candidates are asking for salaries that Silicon Valley is paying. We also look at cost of life, cost of living in the various countries. We look at what the market is paying in various countries. So, case in point, if I'm looking for a senior developer, right, in South Africa as opposed to Kenya, the salary for someone working in South Africa would definitely be higher than someone working in Nigeria or someone working in Kenya. And that's because the cost of living, their minimum wage, and other factors would affect what the salary would be, as opposed to Nigeria or Kenya or Egypt, for instance. So several factors contribute to this, and I would say don't take it personal. The same way that people are advertising for jobs and they're willing to pay senior developers 3.5 million, 4 million naira per month. We also have people who are looking to hire senior developers and we offer them $200 a month.
Hmm. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay. How often do you have this? Oh, okay. How often do you have this meeting first time? Right? Yeah. So we usually have this as often as we can. It's been a while. We had this kind of standard event. Last year, we majorly had lots of Twitter spaces where they were basically just rants, people coming to rant about their employers. And at some point, we had a couple of employers join the conversation just to listen in and get raw feedback. We usually advise people to make it as anonymous as possible. That is not mentioning the name of the company or just telling us they are reporting something that they've heard from a friend or thereabouts, and try as much as possible to give details. So the next event, from the look of things, would be communicated as for those who are part of the community. Most especially if you register for the event via meetup.com. We also have an active WhatsApp group. Um, for those who are not part of it, we have an active WhatsApp group, where we have over 900 members, and we try as much as possible to stay on point when it comes to developer related conversations, be it solving problems or resources or job posts or things of that nature. I need to apologize. My camera seems to be acting up. That's why it's off. I tried to restart refreshing my browser, but it's not getting fixed. The other question that I'm also seeing is, when being let go by my previous employer and in an interview I'm asked why I'm applying for a new job, what should I respond with? How open should I be about my situation?
Hmm. It depends on the kind of company that you're leaving. If it's a very toxic company and nothing is going to be done about it, then just tell them, look, you don't have to be very open. You don't owe your past employer, because the minute you send in your resignation, that employer becomes your past employer the minute you send your resignation. So you don't owe your past employer anything, to be honest. So it really depends on how you feel and the kind of company you're working with. Of course, you may have to come back to them for references, so you also have to bear that in mind. It's a very toxic environment where whatever you say will be used against you in court. Then just answer with a generic, oh, for better opportunities, or you don't even have to answer it, or just give them a nice smile and say, oh, nothing, I just want to leave, and you go on, and then send your reference check later on so that they will give you great recommendations. If it's a company where they're actually genuinely interested in knowing why you're leaving so that they can address any shortcomings, then feel free to be as open as you can. Either which way, it depends. But remember that you don't owe your past employer anything.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me pick this question that came in on the WhatsApp group. My question, the person put it in broken question where I want to ask, why do recruiters, particularly third-party recruiters, set up interviews with developers with a company that shows interest in them, then after successfully passing the interview, for instance, say ABC third-party recruiter will get back to you, they don't get back?
Well, did they tell you that you successfully passed the interview? If they did, if they didn't, then how do you know that you successfully passed the interview? Was it a feeling you had? Now, if they did tell you that, hey, you were really successful and the company would get back to you, and they didn't, it could be that the company decided to change their mind and say, you know what, we don't need this role again. We feel this in-house, or we promoted someone in-house, so don't bother. So they don't get back to you because they don't know what to tell you. It could be that maybe they've moved on to other candidates, other more suitable candidates. But if the recruiter doesn't get back to you, please feel free to send a message. Hey, just checking in on this vacancy. I interviewed a couple of weeks ago, and I'm here to hear from you. If they still don't hear, if they still don't respond, then just assume that that vacancy is closed and move on. There are other vacancies. If you're trying to get that next job, like I said, aggressive application. Aggressive application. Don't waste time on one interview or on one vacancy. Move on to the next one quickly so that you can find the job that you're looking for.
Okay, thank you very much. Um, the other question, okay, someone made a request that can the speaker drop their LinkedIn profile so we can connect it, as a way to network. Yes, if you check the meetup.com page, our profile is there. You can just click on the LinkedIn icon there. I would also try and grab it and also post it here as well. The other question we have is, how should the talent do a pushback during salary negotiation?
Okay, first I'll say be courteous, be very courteous. We're having a conversation with adults, with civil people. Even if you're asking for 1 million naira and they come back and say, oh, we can only pay you 200K. Don't be annoyed and say people are mad, bastard your father. No. Say, well, thank you so much for this offer. However, can we start negotiations about something higher? Because, I feel my qualifications and the job level and the complexity of the role would require would require higher compensation than what you're offering. Also, are there other additional perks and benefits to this? Because they could be offering 200K and they're giving quarterly bonuses of 3 million naira. That's something to consider. So are there other perks and benefits that are applied that come with this 200K job? Let's open the doors of negotiation. Always open the doors of negotiation if you can.
Okay, thank you very much. The other question has to do with, okay, someone asked the same question again around, why do companies or HR ghost applicants during application process or after an interview? How should the applicant? Okay, yeah, you already answered this question, so there's no need for that. I think the other question is, if my new employer wants a recommendation from my previous employer, and then my previous employer is not willing, or or is not ready, or bent on not providing, or is bent on providing a negative recommendation, what should I do?
Okay, before then, let me answer the last person, because for them to post that question 2 minutes ago means that they probably missed what I said. If HR don't provide feedback, it means that they have either moved on. I mean, it's a bad habit for not providing feedback, but it means that they've either moved on to another candidate and they're probably speaking to over 100 or 50 candidates or many candidates at once, and they feel that it's not, they can't be bothered to revert. So just move on. Just move on. Don't keep it in mind. Just move on to the next company. Now, if your new employer wants a recommendation from your previous employer, and they're not willing to,
Provide a
first
positive
of all, why do you have
feedback.
negative recommendation? Did you do something? Was it just a toxic environment that you felt that you need to leave? Um, if they are not okay, so how I'll typically approach this is Two ways. One, either if they're requesting for the HR to provide that recommendation, right from the employment, I will let them know, I will let the new company know that, look, I'm trying to leave this company because I'm having 1 to 3 issues with this employer. It's a very toxic environment. I want to leave, and that is why I'm applying for this job. So they know right from the get-go that they shouldn't expect anything good from here. Or I would provide references from another company that I've worked with before, probably the company before the negative company. I will give that recommendation instead. Or I will give recommendations, references from maybe a project I've worked on somewhere else instead, as opposed to that. So I'm just going to avoid that situation in general. But if the employer is going to give negative recommendations, it's not going to be good for you, and that's pretty much is obvious. I would say be very open with your manager, with the HR, and tell them that, look, this is the situation happening in that company, and I don't know what to do. Let them advise you, but you don't want to lose this job because of a negative recommendation. So let them know, can I give someone else instead? Can I give another company instead, to recommend, because I can't reach these people, or I was coming from a negative place and the way that man I was let go was not the best.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted to just circle back on just a few points that you made regarding what's it called, getting remote gigs. I think one other important thing that people need to bear in mind remote gig is that you need to consider that various countries have various laws, and as regards hiring people from outside of their territories. So take for example, if you are to get a full-time job with companies in Europe or the United Kingdom or thereabouts, you would definitely need to have the right to work or a work permit in such countries, despite them telling you that it's remote or thereabouts. In some cases, they might ask you to kind of relocate to their territory, or they had you on as a contractor. So your contract might definitely be different, but it's not a full-time gig. The only downside to that is if you're being offered a contract role or thereabouts where you're regarded as a contractor, is that they can let you go at any point in time. They are not obliged to um, give you some certain benefits as compared to a regular employee. So take for example, in some companies or in some countries in Europe or in the UK, they're required to give you a month or thereabouts notice. So if they want to fire you or say they're no longer interested in working with you, they can't just tell you on a Friday and tell you not to show up on Monday. They will either need to tell you on Friday and tell you that next 4 weeks or a month from now, they're no longer interested in working with you. And in some cases, some contracts, some countries in Europe require them to pay you certain months worth of salary as age or thereabouts. Also to mention is that for remote roles as well, a number of times you also need to check with the on the job advert or thereabouts. Some information might have been given in terms of where they are looking at hiring from. So take for example, if you're using well found, it used to be angels.co or thereabouts. Well found, there's a way you can filter it to show companies where what's it called, where the organization is interested in hiring from. You can actually use that filter. If you put your location Nigeria or thereabouts, you'll be able to see countries that are applying from Nigeria. I think it's best to say that a number of developers, a number of foreign companies are looking at hiring from Nigeria or thereabouts, which is also good. I think the other way to go about it is to get referral from people who are working in such companies. Bear in mind that the people you are reaching out to help you with the referral, they are not obliged. They're not obliged to kind of like give you the referral because you're asking for it. They might not see your message. They might see your message. They might have concerns, or there might just be anything. And it could just be anything. It's just like someone reaching out to you and saying, send that they need 100,000 naira or they need 1 million or thereabouts, and you have never ever spoken with them before. So what I'll usually advise is, if you try and reach out to someone, if you don't know the person personally, that you guys used to talk before, and you're trying to reach out to them for a referral because they are working in a company you're interested in working in, you first kind of like engage them, either follow their content, drop posts, drop comments or thereabout, positive comments or thereabout. You can DM them. You can decide to have a virtual coffee sessions or thereabout, just to know them and be like interested in what they're doing. And then later on, you can now be like, okay, that you're interested in working in the company where they're working, that you saw a job advert and you state out the skill sets or the experience that you have that matches that. And it's easier for them to be able to recommend you, because I know that some companies, when when an employee is trying to refer you, when an employee is trying to refer someone for a job, in some cases they will ask that, where do you know this person from? So most times they give higher priority to someone that they had worked together before. That is, if you had worked together with that person before on a project or in a company, and the person can vouch for your competencies or thereabouts, there seems to be the reference would always stand out. Like it's always kind of like solid and more preferred. I think those are things that I just wanted to add to it, to what Madam Lolade has done. We really appreciate you for spending the time to answer what's it called, to answer the questions. I think someone, the well found something, not something. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to mention generally to people that I know that yes, a number of people are looking for jobs or thereabout. Um, it's quite an interesting time because you have several layoffs happening at the same time, as well as there are also a number of hirings happening. But however, you need to bear in mind that just the way you're looking for a job is the way some other people are looking for a job. I got access to some stats recently. There was a role in an organization, and they posted a job role or thereabout, and they got over 50,000 applicants globally, simply because they provide some level of assisting people to relocate to the country or thereabout. So just bear that in mind, that your applications needs to stand out, most especially when you're applying to some job roles. I'm sure Lolade would have seen this, where some applications is via email or thereabout, and then people will just attach their resume and just send it without any context, without any email body or thereabout. There's nothing in the email. It's just it's just the resume that is just attached straight up, which is kind of like funny because there's nothing in the body of the email, or there's nothing else. That even in some cases where some job applications require you to provide a cover letter, and then people just put I need a job in the cover letter, or just put something unrelated, right? It doesn't position one well for jobs. We want to thank you very much, madam, for taking our
Sorry
time
to say, but to
to
that, right? Sorry, to let me touch on that really quickly. So most times recruiters, yes, they want a cover letter, but they really don't care about the cover letter, right? So don't get too hung up on it. If you're applying to jobs in Nigeria, don't get hung up on the cover letter thing. You really don't need to put anything in the body of the email. Just send your CV forward, because I'm receiving 1,000 applications, 500 to 1,000 applications for a role. I'm not going to read through CVs through an email. I'll just go straight to your CV and check. Yes, no, next, yes, no, next, yes, no, next. So don't get hung up on it. Just send your CV first. But if you're applying to companies, international companies, multinational companies, outside Nigeria, within Nigeria, much bigger companies, then you can do the cover letter, put the body of the email. Like if you apply to Microsoft, then you can do all that, the niceties, because they appreciate that. Not for other Nigerian companies. Send your CV and move on.
Thank you very much for that, madam. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to see if there are any other questions. None at all. Okay, we want to thank everyone who has been able to join this. We first and foremost want to thank Madam Lolade. Thank you very much for the time for joining us today. Please be rest assured that this meeting was recorded, and we'll try as much as possible to make it available, because I'm seeing a number of people sending messages and thereabout saying that they couldn't join or they joined late. I think we had over 40 people attend this directly. So we want to appreciate everyone who has stayed back on the call till this period. So until we come your way next month, I'm sure we definitely have another event next month, and I think most likely we would also still be looking at this speaking with an HR person to be able to like help us, because this year we all need to as the slogan is, quote and unquote, no go grief for anybody. So we no go grief for poverty or sapa this year. So yeah. So thank you all very much for joining. Thank you, Madam Lolade, for spending our time this wonderful Saturday to come speak with us. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much. For those who are asking for Madam Lolade's LinkedIn, I shared it in the comments. If you do not see it, you can just do a search on LinkedIn for Ololade Odunsi, and you would see our profile. Thank you very much for everyone who has been part of this. We really appreciate to all of our participants or everyone who has been part of this. Someone is asking when is rant section. We can always set up rant section as quickly as possible. Maybe we'll have that. Maybe we'll have that in the coming week, and share that information with everyone. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend and stay jiggy, everyone. Thank you and enjoy your weekend. Bye.